Oh yes, we have Hyacinth Aneke, who is the CEO of Valor Creator Limited, a business advisory consultancy company, and favored on product ideation and launch. So he has over 20 years experience spanning the financial industry, oil and gas, and food and beverage sector. Good morning, Hyacinth.
Thank you for having me. Good morning, gentlemen. Good morning, viewers.
All right, now let's talk about developing the skill that makes you an entrepreneurial leader. Now, it's no doubt that we have several entrepreneurs in Nigeria, in Africa, but are they really entrepreneurial leaders? How do you develop that skill?
Okay, there are different ways that you develop skills, and not just in entrepreneurship, but in any leadership role. Okay, the first thing is that you need to have, like I tell people, one of the ways that you define what you are meant to do, is I use the acronym, the markets, the head, the heart and the hand. All right. So the market is that there's a need out there in the markets. Okay. The heart is that you have the passion for it. The head is that you have the knowledge about it, and the hand is that you have the skills. So how do you develop the skills? Okay. First and foremost, you can get educated, so you can get education. Then you can put yourself out there. There's something we call learning on the job. I think that's a very practical model, okay, of learning, all right? And I think that also the Igbo entrepreneurship apprenticeship scheme, okay, it's one of the ways that you can develop this skill, and this is through mentorship. They have perfected this method of developing skills where you learn, on the job, being overseen by somebody who is already good, at the business. So these are some of the ways that you develop the skills that you needed, to be an entrepreneur.
All right, so let's look at Africa in particular. We're not doing badly with entrepreneurship. Yes, on a daily or on a regular basis, we have more and more African entrepreneurs coming up with innovations that are adapted to the peculiar needs of Africa. But then, there are challenges for them to navigate. How innovative can they be to navigate these challenges? Doing business in Africa is not as smooth as in some other parts of the world. How should would-be entrepreneurs, take leadership and navigate around the challenges that face us as, Africans, where entrepreneurship is concerned?
Okay, so I think I was listening to the guest that was before me, and he was talking about problem versus opportunities. All right.
Yes.
Okay, so you have asked different questions. You talked about innovation in the face of the challenges, and you talk about leadership, in Africa. And I think that the challenges we have in Africa is actually an opportunity. What is the role of an entrepreneur? Okay. An entrepreneur is, somebody that, creates value out of opportunities, for a profit. All right. So what is this all about? Okay. So the first thing, let's talk about what the challenges are. The challenges in Africa are opportunity. I tell people, when people say we have ideas, most times, okay, the idea, what they call idea is not actually an idea. Because it's not coming from a point of need identification, a point of problem identification. So you see some people doing things and you think that, this will work. That's not how it works, especially when we talk about innovation. Okay, I tell people innovation doesn't start with an idea. Innovation starts with a problem. Okay, yeah, so it's a superior solution to that problem that is called idea. Okay, so all the challenges we have in Africa is an opportunity to innovate. And what is innovations really? Innovation is that trying to see, okay, find those unmet needs in the marketplace, and try and develop a solution for it. That's basically it. There are some needs that are obviously unmet. There are some needs that are latent, okay, which means that the people that even have it, don't have a knowledge that they have such a problem. So the work of an entrepreneur is to identify, all these needs in the market, which we call problems today, okay, and find a creative way, a superior solutions to it. So when you develop a value proposition, okay, to fill a gap in the market, you are innovating. So the challenges we complain about across Africa, there are actually opportunity, to innovate, okay, and bring, a leadership, because right now you are providing a solution. You are showing people the way to go. You are actually influencing people, connecting with people, connecting with their problems, and influencing them, to work in a particular direction. And in the process, you are making, a lot of profit for yourself. I think that's the role of entrepreneurship in the African landscape. The problems we talk about actually provide an opportunity for innovation.
Okay, some companies or businesses have been able to make innovations to break into the market, but sustaining the business is a problem, because research has it that a lot of businesses in Nigeria and Africa do not go beyond 5-10 years. Now, but in other climes, we get to see transgenerational businesses spanning over 50 years, even 100. What are the issues with having resilient businesses that span generations?
Okay, so very interesting question that you have asked. The first thing is that, okay, I talked about problems, okay, and I talked about finding solutions to the problem. Oftentimes, most business people, they think about products, okay, all right, and that is not just, the product is just the beginning, okay, and I like entrepreneurs to expand the scope of product beyond the product to value proposition, okay. So what's the difference between a product, and a value proposition? All right, for every market need, okay, there's something the market segment wants to do. There's something the customer wants to do. Okay, so when you talk about products that provide the features that solves that problem, you're talking about products. When you take it further to value proposition, what are you doing? Okay, apart from that thing the customers want to do, okay, there are problems they are having trying to do it. Okay, there are benefits they want to get by doing it. So just providing product that has the features, okay, that solve that problem, okay, is not value proposition. It's just at the product level. But when you begin to think about, okay, how did they get the benefit by doing that? How do they solve the problems? So you're not thinking about value proposition. So you have, a product or a value proposition that help them do the work, okay, that remove the pains they are having for not doing it, okay, and help them gain the benefits, okay, that they want to get. So that's your move from the point of the product to value proposition, okay. But again, your value proposition is just value proposition, not a business, all right. So when you talk about sustainability, you move the next level, to the business model. What is the business model? The business model is how you create this value proposition and how you deliver it to the market and how you capture value from the market. Okay, all right. So there's creating this value, there's delivering this value to the market, and there's capturing value from the market. Okay, until you can prove that value proposition or that business model can, sustainably, okay, generate value over a long period of time. That's when you say you have a business. So you are moved from product, to value proposition, and now you have a business model. Okay, so the business model must be sustainable, okay, before, okay, you say that you can have a sustainable business. But when we go to the issues of generational business, you are looking now further to the structure and the systems of your business. All right, so you need to put a structure in place. All right, it says that people determine the potential of an organization, but structure determines the size. All right, so there has to be a structure. All right, apart from the structure, all right, the next thing that leads to generational business are systems. So you have a situation, okay, where you have business systems that run the business and people, run, the systems. So the moment that you have system running your business, you can actually leave the business and get the business to work without you being there as the founder. So that as the point where you say that, you can, and of course, there are issues of succession plan. One of the challenges I have, that we have had in Africa is that people try to build family business. They insist that their family members must take over the business. But if you want to build for generation, you must look beyond, family. You must look for people, whether they are connected with you or not, okay, who have the competencies, who have the character, who share the vision of the business to be able to take over, okay, the business for the long term. And of course, you have to give them, a part of the pie, and that will be the motivation, for them to. So it's about the product, it's about the value proposition, it's about this business model, it's about the structure of the business, it's about the governance structure that you have, it's about the systems that run the businesses. Those are the things that are responsible for building generational businesses.
All right. A whole lot of variables there that you have railed out: value proposition, structure, system, succession plan, and what have you. But there is one critical component that we didn't mention here, which is the funding part of it. Some will argue that you don't need money to start a business, but you can need money to grow it. I wouldn't know what your point is there, what your stand is about that. But then, how? That's my question now. How should entrepreneurs navigate the challenge of funding? Because no matter how great your ideas are, if you are not innovative with how you source for fund, you're going nowhere. That is my position on that. What should people do differently to ensure that their ideas attract the fund that they deserve?
Okay, so the first question you asked is the fact that you don't need funding
money
to start a business, and what I think about it. Okay, yeah. So at Harvard Business School, entrepreneurship is defined as a pursuit of opportunity beyond the resources you currently control. So you are starting a business, you are trying to build an opportunity beyond what you have. So you find an opportunity. So you will not always have sufficient. In fact, the reason there is an opportunity is that you saw it, but you don't have enough resources to bring it to pass. So you will need other stakeholders, you will need funders, you will need partners, you will need all of you. Okay. And so in terms of starting business, one of the challenges that I've seen out there in my work with especially the small business owners, is the fact that when they want to start business, they identify an opportunity and they throw money at it. Okay. Yeah. So when it comes to in terms of startups, there's something that we call structural experimentation. All right. So what are you doing? The first thing, there are different fits you need to establish in your market, okay, before you can talk about having a business. The first one is that you identify a need in the marketplace. First and foremost, you want to be sure that the customers, or the market segment that you want to serve actually have the need and they're ready to pay for it. All right. So, and that's why most people have come up with the concept of a minimum viable product. So what are you doing? You are trying to build a value proposition, okay, with input from the market segment you want to serve. You want to ensure that the market segment actually have the need and they're ready to pay for it. So you don't do those experiments with all the money you have in the bank. So you start with what is the minimum, you need to test that this exists in the market. I give you an example, a very practical example I use all the time. You want the guys that want to build a poultry, for example, let's take the poultry business. What does the person want to sell? Okay, you want to sell eggs and birds, practically. That's what you want to sell. But you don't need to invest in a poultry to know whether there's market for birds. So what would be my minimum viable product if I want to start a poultry business? All I need is probably a video or a photo of existing existing poultry out there in the market. Okay, and I go out there and find out whether there's actually a need for that. So I can begin to market the products by showing people pictures. I have this number of eggs, I have this number of whatever, I have access to it if you want it. I give the price. So what you are establishing, which is the first important thing, you are establishing the need in the market. You are establishing how the customer wants to be served. You are establishing, what exactly they want. and you are taking feedback and putting the feedback as part of your product or value proposition development. So at the time you are finished, you must have developed a product that the market cannot resist. Why? Because, okay, you took into consideration the needs of the people in the marketplace. Okay, so you find out that you don't need all the money to start. Okay, but at the point that you have developed, the product, you have established, there's a market fit, for the value proposition that you are bringing to the market. That's when you begin to build a business around it, and that's where you begin to need funding. All right. So it is important that the three things that funders are looking for. The first one is what I've talked about. Okay, we helped a lot of young startups, develop a pitch deck, to pitch to funders, to be able to get funding from them. So what are they looking for? The first thing they are looking for is that first mark. There is a need in the market, okay, where people are ready to pay. Okay, so you need to be able to demonstrate that. And that, from your experimentation, you will have data that shows that there is a need in the marketplace, which your value proposition is addressing. That's the first thing that funders want to find out. The second thing that they want to find out is that you have what it takes, okay, to deliver those value proposition. Superior, you can, deliver it in a superior way than other providers in the marketplace. So you need to demonstrate that you have what it takes to bring it. And the third thing that they are looking at, okay, they are looking at the sustainability of the business. And that's why I talked about the business model. Can this opportunity generate profits on a sustainable level for a long time? So the moment you can demonstrate all this, you are in a position to attract funding, to your venture. So that's exactly what it takes, to do that. Yeah, demonstrate that there's a need in the market and people are ready to pay for your product. Demonstrate that you have what it takes. This through experiment, through data that you have, over time, you have consistently, generates revenue because people actually want your product and you can deliver it, effectively. And thirdly, there's a business model that is sustainable over a long period of time.
All right, let's take it up from business model. Now, when people through apprenticeship or internship stay with a particular business, they're exposed to the business model of that particular business. So they learn. And when they want to set up their own, it's quite easy for them because they've had some form of experience. Now, a while ago, when I asked about the skills that is needed for entrepreneurial leadership, you mentioned quite a number of things. And you also talked about the mentorship system. You talked about the informal mentorship system where we have the apprenticeship thing, particularly in the East, where some persons learn a trade for a number of years, which brings us to certain systems that support entrepreneurial leadership. How can we entrench those systems so that over time they are not rooted out, they don't die out? We see that the apprenticeship system is fast dying out. How do we entrench this?
Okay, I think that, okay, we have a program that we call Leapfrog Africa, is actually trying to use entrepreneurship, for empowerment across Africa. And we've identified, 3 challenges as far as entrepreneurship in Africa is concerned. The first challenge that we, is leadership challenge. Okay, that is at the government level. All right. Yeah. So you don't have, we don't have, those leadership that has the character, they have the competence, they have the compassion, to do things that are sustainable, for the people. Okay. It's always about, selfish interest. So that creates a macro problems because we don't have the policy environments, that cause entrepreneurship to thrive. All right. Okay. So that is where the challenge is. But I'm happy for Nigeria, for example. Okay. The status bill has just been passed to an act. Okay. So some policy frameworks are being put in place. All right. And those are the ways that we can ensure that all these things there are policies that are backing them, and these are sustainable because we have, stability in our political environment. We have government policies that is respected by successful governments. When we could have those, sustainability at the macro level, we find out that it creates the sustainable enabling environment, for this kind of skill acquisition, to strive. I know that a lot of private people, are doing a lot of things to ensure that this is sustainable. The concept of incubator and accelerators is growing on a very, alarming rate in Africa, especially in Nigeria. And these are structures that have been put in place, albeit in the private sector, to ensure that, this skill development is sustained, all right? So if you want a venture, you want to develop a venture, you don't have to do it on yourself. You can enroll in some of those incubators. You can enroll in some of those accelerators, and they will handhold you and ensure that, okay, you get the required skills, you get the required support, you get the required, access to funding that you need. Okay, I think that's the way to go. Yeah, we're doing something with, about it at the micro level, but we think that more needs to be done about it at the macro level to ensure sustainability.
All right. What you do and what many like you do speaks to what I call creativity in entrepreneurship. But when we mention creativity, most times people associate it with the arts or the entertainment. Could you please speak more to what it means for an entrepreneur to be creative?
Okay, so when we talk about, entrepreneurship, creativity, and innovation, all we're just looking at is looking at gap. I tell people, if you are in business, the business environment changes, but how it affects people, basically, is how it affects the need in the marketplace, how it affects, the needs in the market segment that you want to serve. Okay, so an entrepreneur is said to be creative or innovative, when you have an eye to identifying the problem that majority of people have, okay, and you are able to look for creative solutions to it. That's what we talk about creativity. There are just two things you are looking for as a creative innovator in the marketplace. You are looking for needs that are not met, okay, and you are looking for needs that exist that even the customers don't know about. Okay, I give you an example. Before the touch, the smartphone, the touch screen, okay, we're using keyboard. Okay, there was no person out there in the marketplace that thought about touch screen. It was a latent need. Okay, so the creativity of people like Steve Jobs and people in that sector, know that it is going to make life easy instead of typing on your keyboard. All right. So the creativity is that how can I improve, okay, the life of people? How can I make things easier for the people? How can I solve this problem better? How can I meet this need better? This is what creativity is all about as far as innovation in the entrepreneurial space is concerned.
So how do entrepreneurial leaders contribute to economic growth and social progress at the end of the day?
I thought that would be obvious, okay, because it's a no-brainer. I think it was International Labour Organization that says that small and medium scale businesses contribute, over 40% to the GDP of Nigeria. That's massive. Okay, over 80% of employment, okay, in Nigeria, according to the same data, is by small and medium scale enterprises. So you can see that, if that is promoted, okay, the contribution to GDP, employment, okay, increase in purchasing power of the people, everything is going to work towards economic development of any economy at all. So as far as I'm concerned, and that's why we are saying that in Leapfrog Africa, okay, the only way to lead to economic empowerment is to promote entrepreneurship, because that's the things that have direct impact to employment, contribution to GDP, increasing the purchasing power of people and what have you. So it is a massive contributor, to economic development of any economy.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Hyacinth Neke, the CEO of Valor Creator Limited. And we do appreciate the time spent with us, and we value the contributions you made to us. Thank you very much once again.
Thank you for having me. God bless you.